Hash the soldier who fought World War II for 29 years, after it ended *** niche. Asterisk history, right arrow World War II target audience, *** 50 plus. Pakistani and Indian viewers *language, English duration, *8 10 minutes format, long form narration script paragraph style, in the year 1974. A Japanese soldier walked out of a jungle in the Philippines, still in uniform, still carrying his rifle, and still saluting his emperor. The war had ended 29 years earlier. Millions had died, empires had risen and fallen, men had walked on the moon. And yet this one man had spent nearly 3 decades fighting a war that the rest of the world had long since forgot. This is not fiction. This is the true story of Hiroo Onoda, the last soldier of World War II, and why his story still has something important to teach us today. Let's go back to 1944. Japan is losing the war in the Pacific, badly. American forces are advancing island by island, and a small, remote island in the Philippines called Lubang becomes the posting for a young intelligence officer named Hiroo Onoda. Before he leaves for this assignment, his commanding officer gives him a single, chilling order. You are forbidden to surrender, you are forbidden to take your own life, and no matter what happens, no matter how long it takes, you will continue the mission until you receive direct orders from a superior officer to stop. Those words would trap Onoda in a war that, for him, would never truly end. By 1945, Japan surrenders. The war is officially over. Leaflets are dropped over the jungles of Lubang, announcing Japan's defeat. Search parties are sent in to find the last remaining soldiers hiding in the mountains. But Onoda and a small group of soldiers with him look at these leaflets and come to a devastating conclusion. This must be enemy propaganda. A trick designed to lure them out so they can be captured or killed. Remember, this is a man trained to trust nothing that comes from the enemy, and trained to obey one order above all others: never surrender unless told directly by his own commander. So he does not come out. He retreats deeper into the jungle, and the war, in his mind, continues. What follows is one of the most extraordinary survival stories in modern history. For years, Onoda and his remaining comrades live in the jungle, surviving on stolen rice, bananas, and coconuts, moving constantly to avoid capture. Treating every encounter with local farmers or search parties as an enemy ambush. Over time, his comrades are killed, one by one, some in skirmishes, some to illness, until Onoda is completely alone. Newspapers are dropped into the jungle. Photographs of his family are left for him to find. Even his own brother travels there personally, standing in the jungle with a loudspeaker, calling out his name, begging him to come home. Onoda hears all of this and dismisses every single piece of it as an elaborate enemy trick. Think about the sheer psychological weight of that decision. For 29 years, this man wakes up every single day believing he is still a soldier at war, still loyal to an empire that, in reality, had rebuilt itself into a modern, peaceful, prosperous nation decades earlier. Tokyo had skyscrapers. Japan had a booming economy. The world had moved into an entirely different era. And in a small jungle in the Philippines, one man is still patrolling with a rifle, still saluting a flag, still convinced that the emperor is depending on him. So how does this story finally end? In 1974, a Japanese adventurer named Norio Suzuki, fascinated by the legend of the lost soldier, travels to Lubang specifically to find Onoda, and remarkably, he succeeds. But Onoda still refuses to surrender, repeating the same words he had held onto for nearly 3 decades. He will only stand down if his original commanding officer orders him to do so in person. And in one of the most remarkable moments in 20th century history, the Japanese government tracks down Onoda's now elderly former commander, flies him to the island, and has him issue the order face to face. Only then, after 29 years, does Hiroo Onoda finally lower his rifle. When he returns to Japan, he is treated as a national hero, given a ceremonial welcome, and yet he struggles to recognize the country he fought so long to defend. The Japan he remembered no longer existed. It had transformed while he stood frozen in time, defending a version of it that had vanished decades earlier. In many ways, his war was not just against an enemy army. It was against the passage of time itself, and time, in the end, is the one enemy nobody can defeat. Why does this story matter to us today, especially for those of us watching from Pakistan and India? Because Onoda's story is not really about Japan, or the Philippines, or even about World War II itself. It is about the danger of clinging to old loyalties and old beliefs long after the world around us has already changed. Refusing to accept new information simply because it conflicts with what we were taught to believe. How many of us, in our own lives, in our own families, in our own communities, are still fighting old battles that the rest of the world has already moved past? How many of us dismiss new truths as tricks or propaganda, simply because accepting them would mean admitting that everything we once believed needs to change? Hiroo Onoda passed away in 2014, at the age of 91, remembered as both a symbol of extraordinary discipline and a tragic example of misplaced loyalty. His story forces us to ask an uncomfortable question. At what point does loyalty stop being honorable and start being a prison of our own making? If you found this story as haunting as we did, share it with someone who needs to hear it, because history's strangest stories are often the ones that teach us the most about ourselves. And if you want more forgotten stories from World War II that were never taught in school, make sure you subscribe, because some of the most powerful history is the history nobody talks about. There is a strange postscript to this story that most people never hear. After returning to Japan, Onoda found it almost impossible to settle back into ordinary life. The country that welcomed him as a hero was too fast, too modern, too unfamiliar for a man who had spent nearly 30 years living by the discipline of a war that no longer existed. Within a year of his return, he made a decision that surprised almost everyone. He left Japan entirely and moved to Brazil to become a cattle rancher. Choosing open wilderness once again over the crowded streets of the country he had just spent decades defending. It was as if, even in peace, he could not fully let go of solitude, as if 30 years in the jungle had reshaped him into someone who no longer fit into the world he had fought so hard to protect. Perhaps the most haunting detail of all is this. For years, Onoda genuinely believed that the war was still being fought elsewhere, that Japan simply had not yet won, and that surrendering his position would be an act of betrayal against soldiers still fighting on other fronts. He was not insane, and he was not foolish. He was a disciplined, intelligent man trapped inside a belief system so complete that every contradicting fact, no matter how obvious, was reinterpreted as a lie. This is perhaps the most unsettling part of his story, not that one man was fooled for a few months, but that total conviction can survive for decades against overwhelming evidence, simply because the mind refuses to accept that everything it once trusted could be wrong. In many ways, Lubang Island became a mirror for the rest of the world. While Onoda stood guard over a war that had already ended, the world outside moved forward without him, rebuilding cities, forming new alliances, forgiving old enemies, and writing new chapters that he knew nothing about. His 29 years in that jungle stand as one of history's most extreme reminders that time does not wait for anyone to catch up, and that the longer we hold onto a version of the world that no longer exists, the further behind we fall, until one day we step out of our own jungle to find a world we barely recognize. End of script. Estimated runtime at natural narration pace, 130-140 words minute, approximately 11-12 minutes.